You're listening to the Visibly Fit podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Wendie Pett, and every week I'll give you holistic, practical solutions for everyday issues related to nutrition, healing, functional fitness, and behavior modifications. As a naturopath, fitness expert, and wellness coach for over 20 years, my goal is to empower you to reach for greater health and to rise up to your next level of living in mind, body, and spirit. You were created with greatness in mind. It's time to own it. Are you with me? Then let's dive in. It takes a strong heart to drive on clogged arteries. Author of that quote is McCarthy. I don't know who he is, but I wanted to share that quote because today's episode is all about being clogged. Yes, that's right. So make sure you stay tuned to hear about that. I am Wendie Pett, and this is the Visibly Fit podcast. This podcast is part of the Spark Media Network, and it can now be found on the Edify app. And I thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you are having an incredible day. And again, thank you for spending this precious time with me. I love spending this time with you. So I wanted to jump in and share a little story and just kind of set the stage for what I want to share about being clogged. So my husband and I, we have been sweating it out. We have been sweating it out the last few days. Our air conditioning unit has been on the brink. And yeah, I know, first world problems, but man, it's been hot in Minnesota. The last couple of days, it was 99 degrees and 100 degrees. It's been hot. And so we took some precautionary measures and tried to figure out what was wrong with the air conditioning unit ourselves. Actually, whatever. My husband did. I didn't. I shouldn't put myself in that equation because he YouTubed and tried to figure out what was wrong with the unit. And, was it the compressor? Was it, is there a leak with Freon? Is it because the unit was dirty? It actually had a lot of debris and it was clogged. Yes, it was clogged and there was a lot of debris and what's that? Cottonwood trees. Yes, the cottonwood trees that leave all the seeds that fly around in the air. Looks like snow in the summer. Well, tons of those cottonwood seeds were just jam-packed onto the unit. And so Todd thought, well, I will just go and clean this off, and that will help with the flow of the air if that's indeed, a problem. And unfortunately, that wasn't just the problem. We did have a repairman come out and he said, no, unfortunately, it's time for a new unit. This one has seen its better days, but it's been good to us. We have had this unit for 19 years, so we feel very blessed that it's been good to us for this long. So we are just waiting because of situation with employment, because of the pandemic and just different things, I guess. They're having the air conditioning place is having a hard time finding installers. And plus, if your air conditioning's going to break down, it's going to break down during the hottest days of the year. So we're not the only ones that are dealing with this. So anyway, needless to say, we will be sweating it out for another week. And again, first world problems, not a big deal, but we are counting it all as joy. And we're laughing through the process. But, we just have greater appreciation for our wonderful amenities that we do have. And we'll get it fixed soon. But when he was clearing out the air conditioning unit, he said, man, this was really pretty dirty. And I can see how that could be a big problem. And so he had actually gone next door to check out the neighbor's air conditioning unit, since we now have to get a new one. And they just got one a few years ago. And he said, oh, man, theirs is filthy. I should tell them. And I said, well, well, maybe we should just clean it ourselves. Why do we need to tell him? Let's just clean it. And he just said, yeah. And I actually decided to do that this morning. I was out watering my garden, and I thought, oh, I'll just take a couple seconds here, no big deal, and squirt it with the hose and clear the debris, and that's that. It'll be no big deal. Well, an hour later, I've never cleaned an air conditioned unit, obviously, after saying that. But yeah, it took an hour and there was so much gunk. It was so clogged up. I couldn't believe it. I thought, how is their air conditioned unit even functioning? And it's obviously not functioning at its optimal level. There was so much cottonwood seeds in there. I mean, it when I took the water to it and I was blowing it out and I was pulling out, this is going to sound kind of gross, but it literally looked like a bunch of like hairballs, like from a cat that a cat would get sick with. I mean, I'm taking out huge clumps of these hairballs, and it was gross, but satisfying at the same time because I knew I was loving my neighbor as myself, and I was just doing a good deed. But man, I just couldn't believe the debris. And as soon as I finished cleaning the air conditioned unit, which, oh, by the way, there's 4 sides, not just one. I thought I was just going to go up there and spray one side of it and call it a day, but there's 4 sides. So there, I went to each side and cleared the debris and did the best I could. But man, the motor, it sounded like it started to have a little purr or a hum, like it was operating better. Before it was like, how about that for a sound? It was like grinding it out. It sounded like it was having a hard time operating. And it's because it was having a hard time operating. And so I think about the word clogged. Yes. So I know we all have used that word before. We talk about clogged arteries, right? We talk about having clogged drains or sinks or toilets. Talk about having maybe a lump in the throat, right? That's usually a sign that we are clogged with an emotion, whether we want to scream or cry. It's just like a lump in our throat. We're just hanging on to it. It's just clogged. We can't get it out. Or maybe you've got clogged ears, right? The earwax. You can't hear as well. My 96-year-old mother-in-law, she has hearing aids and pretty much deaf in one ear and the other one isn't the best. But if her ear has a lot of earwax in it, she can't hear. Like she is like, something's wrong with my hearing aid. And we're like, okay, maybe we just need to make sure that your ears are clean. And sure enough, maybe use a little peroxide or whatever, or take her to the ear specialist and get the earwax removed. And she's like a new person. It's like, the clogging is gone. She can hear. We've heard of clogged pores, right? I know I had a bad case of acne when I was young and in middle school. I don't know about you, but man, I had a lot of blocked pores. And those are it's just clogged. It's full of bacteria and sweat, right? Different toxins that are wanting to be released, and that's how it's going about doing that. Clogged filters, like I mentioned with the air conditioning unit, that the filter, the area around the unit, it was clogged and it couldn't flow. We couldn't get airflow through there, so it could optimally function. What about like clogged airways, like when someone's choking, right? They either can't swallow, they can't breathe, and they hold their throat like they're choking. I mean, they're choking, right? They have to get that clogged thing out of their airway so that they can breathe again. It's clogged, and it can cause death, right, if it's not removed. What about clogged mind? Clogged mind. It's clogged with stinking thinking. It's clogged with just old self-sabotaging ways. It's clogged with labels and titles that people have put upon us, or it's just clogged. It's clogged in an area that is keeping you stuck and not stepping into a new arena or a new way of living. And so, yes, we can be clogged in so many different ways. And I think about just, of course, when our body is clogged at the cellular level, if we're not drinking enough water. Water is key. You have to be drinking enough water. And I know I talk a lot about that on this podcast, but it's because it's so simple and it's something that we need to survive, right? We have to drink water, and water helps to push the toxins out through urination, and it carries nutrients to our cells, and it prevents dehydration, right? And when we are not drinking enough water, and our kidneys are not working optimally, then our liver, it spills over into our liver, and our liver is not metabolizing fat in the right way. It just kind of spills over into other areas of our body not working in an optimal level. And so water really plays a big role in that. There's studies that I mean, it's obvious, but but studies prove that if you're not drinking enough water, those are the people that are hanging on to more fat deposits in their body, right? As opposed to people that are drinking more water and flushing the toxins and flushing the fat deposits out of their body efficiently and effectively. So water is important. It plays a big, big role, and it helps to metabolize fat efficiently. So water, drink more water. Air, we talk about breathing. And again, I talk about this on the Visibly Fit podcast a lot, but breathing, how many times are you just kind of doing a shallow breathing, just kind of a stress breathing, and it's up in your kind of chest. You're just taking shallow breaths. You're not really engaged in the breath. You're not filling up your diaphragm and then filling up your lungs to their fullest capacity, and therefore it's not allowing your blood flow to flow at its optimal level. You're not getting enough oxygen to the brain so you can think in a clear fashion. You're tired. All these things. Air and water, we need both to survive. So if you are clogged up, then you're not going to function at your best. Now, I mentioned about the air conditioner, right? And God kind of just gave me that analogy as I was out there working on the air conditioner, about how our bodies are so much like this air conditioner. If it is clogged and we don't take care of it, then eventually it's going to break down, and you have to buy a new unit. And air conditioner units, they're not cheap, right? It's expensive. But think about that for your body and your body parts. If you are not taking care of your body, if you are clogged up, if you are clogged mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, if you are clogged, then it will cost you. It will be expensive, whether you have to replace an organ, right? Whether it costs your life fully, right? And you don't get another life. But I'm talking about, it's a serious thing that I'm really trying to share here, because being clogged is a problem. When things are clogged, just like a drain or getting gross, but like a pimple, and you have that pressure, there has to be a release. There will be a burst at some point. So if we don't take care of what is clogging the area in our body, in our mind, in our emotions, then it will burst, and we will have to pay for it at some point in time. And others around us will have to pay for it, right? Like, Todd and I are paying for it by with our air conditioner by having to sweat for a few days. We will not get a new air conditioning unit for a week, so that's interesting. But we're just going to pretend like we're camping. That's what we're going to do. But anyway, but with your body, we don't want it to get to that place. We don't want you to get to a place where you're about to burst because you are so clogged that you're not able to live in an optimal functioning body. So it's important that you take a little assessment. Take an assessment and be really raw and real with yourself. Like, okay, am I really eating to my best ability to be healthy and to have a healthy, clean diet? Am I? Is this next bite that I'm going to take, is it going to clog my arteries, or is it going to help to clear the way? Is it going to help to reverse any kind of damage or disease that might be going on my body, or is it going to feed and fuel disease? So asking yourself those questions is really important, right? Asking yourself, am I feeling a certain way? Do I have some deep-rooted stuff going on? Do I have resentment? Do I have bitterness? Do I have jealousy? Do I have anger issues? Do I have something that I haven't really fully taken care of, and it's clogging up just the flow of healthy relationships? It's clogging up the way in which you show up in the world, whether it's at your home, at the office, at church, in your community. If you're clogged in those areas, you will not show up in your best, healthiest self. So asking yourself those questions, that's an assessment. Spiritually, are there some clogs there? Are you allowing certain things in your home, in your are you watching certain things? Are you listening to certain things that quite frankly would not put a smile on God's face, right? So if that's the case, then you've got to unclog it. You've got to clear the way, because eventually that will burst also. Yeah? You know what I mean by that? Eventually, it will cause the accumulation of the spiritual dirtiness. It will cause a clog in your relationship with your Creator. Okay? So we want to clear all the pathways. We want to clear the pathway so that you don't have any guilt, shame, condemnation, any of that stuff with what you're choosing to do in your life. That it's just pure motives, right? Now, none of us are perfect. We're all sinners. I get that. But what I'm saying is, if you're really taking an authentic, real assessment of your life, is it on the up and up? And if it's not, then you can unclog and clear that clutter. You can clear away that stuck point. And speaking of clutter, a lot of times, and I've mentioned this before on the show, but when we're cluttered up and clogged up on the inside, physically and mentally and emotionally, spiritually, you're usually going to see that in your environment on the outside. So there might be some areas that you can start to physically transform a room, transform a junk drawer, transform something that you can visually see that is being cleared away. It's being unclogged, right? And then that will help to manifest that on the inside as well. But it's taking action, right? It's doing something that will help to propel you to become healthier and to feel better about yourself. So yeah, being clogged is not a good thing. Think about it. Like, people, you can die if you are not going to the bathroom, if you are clogged up, literally, right? Forget clogging the toilets. What about if you haven't even been able to go to the bathroom? People end up in the hospital. It is toxic. And so how are you really doing? And you just got to ask yourself. And if you are so close to maybe your situation, or maybe you think, hey, I'm good, then I want you to find a trusted individual, a family member, a friend, a coach like myself that can ask you, or that you can maybe ask them the question, hey, would you be so kind as to be raw and authentic with me and share with me maybe something that I don't see that's going on in my life that could help me get closer to my goals? Give someone permission to speak life into your life, but also to speak in a bold fashion that could be guided in such a way that it could be auto-corrected, right? Because if you don't know about it, how are you going to change things? So you might just not know. So find that trusted person. Find that person and say, hey, I really do want your honest opinion. Don't just give me all the fluff and all the, you know, don't be a people pleaser here. Give me the truth. Do you see that when I walk in a room that I'm judgmental, or do you see that I'm a little hot-headed at times, or I'm stubborn, or, tell me. And so I can start to correct and shift, because you can't correct what you don't see or acknowledge or understand even, right? With that same person, I would invite you to ask them to give you 3 to 5 adjectives about you, to describe you. And again, not fluffy Pollyanna kind of, comments or adjectives, but real adjectives that would describe you. If you were to, maybe it's tenacious, or, I don't know what that adjective is for you, but have them really give you real words, and then build upon those words and see if they feel negative or positive to you. And we can always turn those negative feeling words into positive ones, right? And if you've got some great positive words spoken over you as far as adjectives are concerned, you can build upon those and realize that those are probably some strengths that someone is knowing and seeing in your life, and you can build upon that. And maybe you don't even notice that or acknowledge that particular strength in yourself, and someone is seeing that in you. And that could help you rise up with greater courage and with greater determination and intentionality when you do start to act upon maybe how others are seeing you in a new light. Because again, you know you through and through. You've seen the good, bad, ugly, the ups and downs, the highs, the lows. You've seen it all. And maybe they haven't seen all that with you, and that's okay, because they're seeing how you are today, how you show up today. And they may also be seeing you in your future pace self. Like, I remember talking to a friend, and I remember saying, oh my goodness, you are a leader. You are a natural born leader. Like, I didn't even know her that well. And I mean, I had to tell her, like, it had to be told. And she's like, wow, thank you. And you know what? She is a leader. She is a mighty leader, and she's a major lover of Christ, and she's doing great things in this world. And so I'm just super happy to have been bold enough to tell her, and that she has been bold enough to take the steps and take on that leadership role that I was seeing in her, but that God sees in her, right? So what is that for you? So where are you clogged? That is the question of the podcast. And using that air conditioning analogy, I hope that kind of helps you see that, wow, just a little water. I mean, I was spraying it pretty forcefully, but just some water can clear out some debris and toxins. And so maybe that's you. Maybe it's some water. Maybe it's that more air, getting more fresh air even. Maybe you're inside way too much. You need to shake it up. You need to get outdoors and get some fresh air. How is it for you that will help you become unclogged? And I just want to invite you to answer some questions, or start asking yourself some questions that maybe you wouldn't normally ask yourself, and be intentional. Start to future pace what your life would look like if you stayed clogged in that area. What does that look like? How does that affect not just you, but those around you, right? If that air conditioning unit continued to get more and more debris and more clogged next door, it would break down eventually if it was never taken care of. It would break down and they would need to buy a brand new unit. So get ahead of the curve and clear that debris away so that you don't have to break down in any areas and that it doesn't affect you and your household and those that you care about, right? You are made for such a time as this. You were created with greatness in mind, and it is time to own that. It is time to get unstuck, do the work, find the counselor, find the coach, find the friend that can help you move through the stuck places that are keeping you from living your best, most abundant life. So if you are looking for someone and you just want to have even a conversation, I'm here. You can call me at any time, but go to my website, wendiepett.com, or you can go to getvisiblyfit.com if you want to check out my 7-week program. We do a lot of this kind of stuff in that 7-week program, but I believe in you. I know I can't see you physically, but I know that you are a child of the Most High, and God has chosen you for such a time as this. And so that's why I believe in you. And I want you to be in your healthiest, best self, mind, body, spirit, emotions, quite frankly, a little bit selfishly, so that we can all work together in a greater capacity, right? Because if we're only as strong as our weakest link. So if we've got some people in our space that aren't living in a healthy fashion, if there's mental health, if there's some emotions not dealt with, if their physical body is breaking down, then we can't really operate together, even not just you as an individual, but together collectively. For God's greater glory, right? So selfishly, I want you to be healthy and whole. So if you're looking for somebody just have a conversation with, or to attack and get unstuck, right? Attack this with what you need for the solution, then seriously, give me a call, send me an email, and we'll have a conversation. But thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Visibly Fit. I'm excited for next week. We have one of my, he's a great guy. I don't want to tell you, but he is on my favorite documentary, The Game Changers movie. And if you have not seen The Game Changers movie, it is so good, and he is featured in that film. So you will want to tune in next week as well. So anyway, thanks so much. If this has blessed you, feel free to share this and tell others about the Visibly Fit podcast. And leave a rating and review and all that fun stuff. And I'll see you on social media as well. So anyway, bless you and have an amazing Visibly Fit day.
Well, that's a wrap for today's show, so thank you so much for tuning in. I love spending this time with you. To learn more and get more free resources, just head on over to wendiepett.com, and thank you in advance for sharing this episode and this podcast, following and subscribing not only to this podcast, but finding me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, I'm probably there too. Until next week and our next podcast time together, make it a Visibly Fit day.